Welcome to the last part of this Football Manager 2018 experiment, where I've swapped all of the English leagues around. Once again, thank you for the support on this mini-series. It has been wonderful as always. And I did say if you managed to get 300 likes on part 6, I would do one more part. And you guys managed to get that, so well done. And I did actually say I was going to holiday 10 years into the future, but I've holidayed 13 years into the future. So we're in June 2060. Nothing hugely has changed since part 6, but there are a few teams that have been promoted and relegated. You can see the top teams in England. It's back to the traditional top 6 according to this, and I guess it was almost inevitable that that would happen. The team that struggled the most was Manchester City. We'll go and have a look to see the landscape of English football. How has it changed in 43 years? So, top 6, the only difference there is Southampton. 77 points, finishing 4th. Man City down in 8th. Now, they're the team that struggled the most to get up to the top flight. They did have a period where they were a yo-yo team about, I guess, 20 years ago. They then became an established team, got relegated, promoted again, and now they've established themselves once again as a Premier League team. But the highest they have finished was 4th last season. So it took them 42 years to finally become a top 4 team again. And their reputation is now back up to 4.5 stars worldwide. They're rich. Remember, they went down to 2.5 star reputation at one point. So they have finally got back to the level that they were at, but they haven't managed to win the league. You can see Man United have been the dominant team over the last 30 years or so since they got back to the top flight. But Liverpool have managed to win it a couple of times recently, and Arsenal. Everton won it in 2047-48 though. That's the biggest surprise of the last 30 years, I suppose. But they are a strong team on this. They've got back to where they were, and they are finishing top 4 on a relatively regular basis. Manchester United have Jack Wilshere in charge, and they're actually a 5-star reputation team. That is incredible, because I think at the start of the save they're 4-star. So that's impressive. It's also, the Premier League is also the top reputation league in the world. If we go to clubs, you can see Barcelona, Bayern. They're the stereotypical teams at the top with 5-star reputation. But Man United and Liverpool both have a 5-star reputation rating. Spennymoor up there with 4.5 stars. That's really good from them. So well done to Spennymoor. And I think I'm right in saying they're the only team that has stayed in the Premier League the whole time, which is very impressive. If we look at finances, look at turnover, Manchester United at the top. But it's all... Are we only looking at English clubs? Where's the European clubs here? I think I must have only selected England for some reason. But you can see Gloucester have the second highest turnover in England, and they're actually in the Championship at the moment. They've had a very successful time. I'll show you the cup competitions in a little bit. But they've struggled the last couple of seasons. They had a really good spell in the Premier League, finishing as high as 3rd in 2051, which is very impressive considering, you know, the traditional top 6 are back where they were. So to actually break that top 4 in 2051 is incredibly impressive. Unfortunately, they were relegated last year, and they haven't quite managed to get promoted back to the top flight this year. They've lost out in the playoffs, but they're under a transfer embargo, so that's having an impact on them. I don't know how long that's been the case. I'm guessing it's only just now, in fact, because they have signed players over the last year. But really well done to Gloucester for having the second biggest turnover. Then it's just the teams that you would expect, but Spennymoor up in 9th. I'm guessing it's just loads of clubs modelled up. You know, who's towards the bottom? We've got Nottingham Forest and Norwich down here. We've got Derby County, Swansea, real life Premier League team, down in 74th. Huddersfield, 76th biggest turnover. So it's not really... it's amazing. I just find it amazing how much this is muddled up. It's brilliant to see. Looking at rankings in terms of nation rankings in Europe, why is it not showing the top one? I suppose it's what other non-European teams would be in there, because we're only looking at Europe at the moment. Ukraine, they've done really well on this. Really random, but second in the world rankings. Not really sure why. We'll have a look at World Cup and that sort of thing in a bit. It's not really relevant to this. But it's still of interest. So Gainsborough were the team that finished the highest this season. I'm just going to skip back the last few years to 2047-48 season, which was the first one of this part 7. Everton won the league. The highest team that isn't a real life Premier League team, Blackburn, but the highest team that is a proper non-league team was Gainsborough, finishing 8th, Gloucester finishing 9th. If we go to the next season, Man United champions in the game, but Gloucester finished 7th this year. 2050, we saw Bognor Regis finishing the highest in 9th place. 2051 was the season Gloucester and Spennymoor both managed to get into the Champions League places. That is very impressive for both of them to actually break the top 4. Man United ran away with it. They only lost one game all season, which was against Gloucester. This year, Salford have turned into a bit of a yo-yo team. They had a very successful first few years, but they haven't quite managed to hold their own in the Premier League for quite a long time. Spennymoor finished 5th in 2052 and 5th again in 2053, 6th in 55. They actually managed to break into the top 4 again. So Spennymoor, very impressive. We'll have a look at them in a second, because I think overall they've been the most successful team on this save out of the non-league teams that started in the top flight anyway. So, teams to stay in the top flight the entire time. Gainsborough haven't managed to, because they were relegated in 2053, went straight back up in first place, but see, that's the only year they've been relegated. Just one blip on that very impressive record on this save. Oxford City. Now, I think they were relegated to League One early on, but they managed to get back to the top flight, and they've kind of turned into a bit of a yo-yo team. They do occasionally spend a few seasons in the top flight. This was their 5th successive year in the top flight without getting relegated, so they seem to be doing pretty well. Bognor Regis, they've done very well, but once again, relegated once. Bottom of the table, 2056, promoted as champions the year after. But they've done really, really well. But just one blip once again to ruin that very impressive record. York City, they've done pretty well. They've been a yo-yo team for quite a few years, but they've now spent 6 seasons in the top flight. And now Spennymoor, this is their worst finish their worst finish for ages. The worst finish since 2041, where they were close to relegation. They finished 14th this year, but of course they have finished 4th twice in the last few years, but they have dropped off since then, disappointingly, down to 12th, 8th, 9th and now 14th. But what an impressive team they have been. If we look at their competition wins, you can see they won the Premier League twice, finished 3rd once. They've won the Euro Cup once. That's a bit of a spoiler for later on. You can see they won it in 2051. And the English FA Cup they also won in the same year. They got the Cup double. Really impressive, especially after 3 disappointing runners-up medals previously. They won the Carabao Cup way back in 2036. Community Shield, Checkatrade Trophy runner-up. I guess that's the under-23s. They've done really, really well. And I think we have to crown them the best team on this save. I don't think anyone else has done any better. It really is quite amazing. These are all the managers they've been through over the years. They've been through a lot of managers, but remember, it's a long old time. We've seen Daryl Janmaat in charge, Adebayor, Edmilson Fernandez, Lindelof. Janmaat again came back. Daryl Janmaat. I'm thinking of someone else, aren't I? I'm getting mixed up. But yeah, he's been caretaker manager multiple times, but he has finally retired. I guess it's just going to be regens now at this point. We've got to that point in the future where all the real life players have died, or they're in a retirement home by now, I guess. These are their records. It won't really mean anything to you because they're all regens and stuff. Let's have a look at the facilities. What do they have now? They've still only got a 12,577 all-seater stadium built in 2020. It's 40 years since then. They should be building a new, bigger stadium, surely. Why are they stopping themselves from becoming a bigger club? They surely have loads of supporters now in the northeast. I don't understand why they haven't built a bigger stadium. I guess eventually they might do, but they've been in the Champions League a few times. I wonder how they got in the Champions League. When did they finish 4th? Here we go. I think they got knocked out. Yeah, they went through to the Euro Cup. In fact, is this the year they won the Euro Cup? No, semi-finals. I really like this Spennymoor team. They've done really, really well. This is their team at the moment. Biggest value player is Nen, who's a 28-year-old Brazilian, and he looks rather special. So they've got some quality players. If we just go back to the Premier League, I do want to see stadiums to see who's got the biggest stadium. Oh, wow. Manchester United have built the Matt Busby Arena, and they've got a 126,311 seater stadium that was built 10 years ago. That is incredible. How have they done that? The Arsene Wenger Park, Arsenal have 87,000. Kenny Dalglish, they've just named them after legends. Liverpool have an 80,000 seater stadium. There's 3 bigger stadiums than New White Hart Lane now. West Ham Stadium, the London Stadium, 60,000. Stamford Bridge has been expanded to 60,000. City of Manchester Stadium stayed the same. Goodison Park's now at 50,000. But we've got the Ted Hardy Arena for Dagenham and Redbridge, 33,500 seater. Harry Potts Stadium for Burnley. St Mary's is still there. The Hawthorn's still there. Portman Road. Keith Walwyn Park for York. So Spennymoor actually had the smallest stadium in the Premier League, despite their fame. Are they? I mean, I don't know if there's a way to find out if they're building a new one, but surely they should build a really big one day and compete with these guys. They finished 4th, for goodness sake, a couple of times. So I would hope that they would expand at some point, especially as they've got the smallest stadium in the Premier League, but still competing at the top level. Let's go down to the Championship then, where recently Blackburn promoted back to the Premier League. They were actually, I didn't notice they were relegated, but yeah, they were relegated. Salford's also gone up with them, with Newcastle winning the playoffs, beating Gloucester in the final. Really unlucky for Gloucester, who've had a really good time. Poole Town have done particularly well on this save, I think. They've been a yo-yo team, but they've done really well. Remember, they've got My Regen Rovers shirts. That's what's been inspiring them, I think. These are the past winners then, over the last, 13 years you'll be interested in. And runners-up and playoff winners. Remember, if you spot anything that I don't shout out in this video, stick it in the comment section below. Other people might find your observations interesting. Relegated from this division, Weston-super-Mare, Sheffield United and Crystal Palace, a real-life Premier League team going back down to League One. But Weston-super-Mare, they did get promoted to that Premier League once again, remember, only to be relegated straight away. And since then, they've been a Championship club, apart from one relegation, and now they've been relegated once again, unfortunately. Crystal Palace, they did actually get to the Premier League for one season, relegated again, and they've been a Championship team ever since, before now going down to League One again. Sheffield United, did they get to the Premier League? No. In fact, they've only been in the Championship a couple of times. They've really been yo-yoing between League Two and the Championship over the last few years. Let's look at the stadiums here then. Is there anything surprising? So Newcastle, I think someone spotted this in the last video, they've actually built a stadium smaller than their current stadium. It just shows what level Newcastle went to. They've been in the Premier League twice, but relegated straight away. But they've also been in League One. And as a result of all of this, they've decided to build a stadium that is smaller than their current one, because they're just not attracting the fans now anymore, I suppose. Let's look at this. The stand seem... Is this a real-life Newcastle guy, or is it named after a regen or a manager or something? I don't know. Someone might know if he is real. But that was built back in 2044. I guess when they were still in League One. Yeah, well, floating around the League One and the Championship. So that's really interesting that they've built a smaller stadium. Cardiff City Stadium is bigger, though. Ellen Road has shrunk. Look. They've just got rid of a load of seats, because I swear it's like 45, isn't it like 40,000 seater in real life? I might be wrong. I know they've closed one of their stands off for quite a few years, haven't they? Or maybe they recently reopened it, but it's quite, 37,000 is quite small. Wilfred Minter Arena for St Albans. Now, St Albans, unfortunately, are in the Championship at the moment. They've been a yo-yo team for many years, but they do have a bigger stadium than a lot of the old non-league teams that are now in the Premier League. So they've actually decided to build a good stadium. I suppose they've won cups over the years. Same with Poole Town, big stadium. Gloucester Stadium, that's big. I mean, most of these are bigger than the Premier League stadiums. Just scrolling down, Salford Stadium's 21,500 seater. We've got Blythe with a 15,000 seater. The Alan Devonshire Arena at Hampton and Richmond, that's interesting as well. Alan Devonshire, West Ham legend, also managed Braintree Town for quite a few years. He also, I guess he managed Hampton and Richmond for quite a while as well, I think. But that's quite random, the Alan Devonshire Arena. League One, those are the stadiums, but I just want to look at the league. Norwich promoted along with Nottingham Forest, and QPR via the playoffs with Colchester, Huddersfield, real-life Premier League team, relegated, Chesterfield and Bristol Rovers going down. These are the recent winners, runners-up and playoff winners. As you can see, there's some real-life Premier League teams in there, lots of real-life Championship teams featuring as well. Just go back to stadiums. I don't know if there's anything particularly interesting here. Of course, we've got the real-life Championship and Premier League teams at the top here of bigger stadiums, but you've also got the Brian Clough Arena, which is only a 20,000-seater stadium for Nottingham Forest, as a result of being stuck down in the Championship, League One and League Two for quite a few years. Bradford PA Stadium's only 5,000-seater, because I guess they've not been in the Premier League for a long time. It was built 13 years ago, so they didn't need to build a particularly big stadium, I guess. Let's go down to League Two then, which was recently won by Curzon Ashton. They've spent some time in the Premier League before. Look at this fall from grace over the years, but they're back in League One. They might make their way back up, I suppose, over time. Birmingham also promoted along with Leamington Spa, who over the years have been drifting between League One and the Vanarama National League, in fact. Chippenham have also gone up. They've had a fall from grace, as you can see there, but they're back into League One. Crawley and Alfreton relegated from this division. Let's look at the most recent winners. Runners-up. Third place gets promoted as well, remember, and the playoff winners, of course, get promoted. Sunderland finished third a few years ago. I don't know where they are. They're actually back in League Two, as you can see there. They might have a small stadium as well, I suppose. No, they've still got the Stadium of Light. Is that their real-life capacity? I'm not 100% sure on that. We've still got the MK Dons Stadium, St Andrews. Mike Norton Arena for Curzon Ashton. When was that built? 2030. I think that was when they were still in the Premier League, in fact. So they've got quite a big stadium for League Two level. Smallest stadium is the Hungerford Stadium, which is built in 2043. Checkertrade.com stadium for Crawley. Right, down to the National League then. I think we're going to see the lowest Premier League team soon. The real-life Premier League team. You can see, here we go, Stoke City. They're stuck in the Vanarama National League. And they've actually been, they've gone up to League One in recent years, but they've been relegated 2 seasons in a row, and now unable to get promoted from this level 3 seasons in a row. Leyton Orient going up with Bury. Farnborough, Ebbsfleet, Cambridge and Stockport relegated. There's a lot of teams back at the level where they started in real life. These are the past winners, as you can see there. And is there any big stadiums at this level, I wonder? Yes, we've got the Stoke City Stadium, 30,000-seater. The Valley, Mansfield Stadium. The smallest stadium is Cherrywood Road for Farnborough. Okay, down to the National League North, which was won by AFC Telford, also going up with Oldham, who went up via the playoffs. Blackpool, they've been up and down, haven't they, between these regions? Oh, they've spent a lot of time in the National League North. In fact, they went up to the National League Premier, but now they're back out, down to the regional levels. With Bolton, remember, they've been in obscurity since the very first season. I wonder if there's any, what stadium did Bolton have these days? It must be 10. This is the Blackpool Stadium. They've only got a 4,000-seater stadium. But Telford have a pretty big stadium for this level, don't they? 14,000-seater. Let's go down to the National League South then, which was won by Maidstone, going up with Torquay, Staines, Eastleigh, and Mersham going down. Now, Eastleigh started in League One, I think, and it's not gone very well for them. You can see they've been in at this level for so many years now. Relegated a few years ago, and now they've been relegated again. Not great. They had 10 points deducted as well. Staines going down just about 7 points behind Carshalton. So there's a lot of teams like Chelmsford City and Bath which started at this level. Well, they're back at the level where they originally started, of course. Chelmsford have yo-yoed between this and the National League. Let's look at the stadiums here then. So, biggest stadium is Merthyr Tydfils, Pendarren Park, 10,000-seater stadium. That's not bad. The smallest stadium is Arbour Park. Chelmsford actually did build a new stadium in 2020. I guess they had to, I think 5,000-seater for the Championship is required, so that's why a lot of teams ended up building 5,000-seater stadiums, because they were at that level. Oh no, this is 19. That's an old stadium for Welling. What about Ramsgate? Doesn't say when that was built. But other stadiums, I guess, were expanded to Championship quality stadiums. Anyway, let's look at the FA Cup then, where there's been a couple of interesting winners. That's what I like to see. Manchester United won the last two, but Spennymoor won it in 2055, beating West Brom in the final, and Gloucester won it in 2048, beating Everton in the final. They also were runners-up once, and Bognor Regis have also been runners-up. I wonder if Wembley's been expanded. 90,000, I don't think so. Let's go down to the Carabao Cup then, which Gloucester managed to win as well. So they managed to get the cup double in 2048. They won it twice in 3 years, as you can see there. Man United won it 4 years in a row, beating Harrogate twice. Unlucky for them. Spennymoor haven't managed to win that one in recent years. Community Shield, you can see Spennymoor managed to win that. Checkatrade Trophy, mainly under 23s teams. We've seen Newcastle, their first team, because remember they were playing in League One at that point. They managed to win it. Chippenham and Hungerford have won it. But yeah, it's mainly the Premier League under 23s teams. Although York under 23s, they managed to win it. Of course, they are a Premier League team. So, it looks like they're producing some good players here. Look at this guy. Oh, he's 23, but Carlos Guilherme, a Brazilian. I guess they signed him. But yeah, I guess there's a lot of teams that will have improved their facilities and actually have a very good youth team now. This is the FA Trophy winners. Leyton Orient winning the most recent one. The Premier League under 23s Division 1. There's no surprise winners in there, unfortunately. We've seen Dagenham and Redbridge finish second. And then this is Tier 2, where we've seen Gainsborough win it, Oxford City, Harrogate, Spennymoor. Let's take a look at the European tournaments, and this is the Champions League, which we've seen Man United win it twice. Liverpool have also managed to win it. There's no surprise winners in there, unfortunately, but Euro Cup wise, in the last few years we saw Man United win it in 2049, then Gloucester managed to beat Chelsea in the 2050 final. They also managed to win it for a second time in 2053, beating Ajax, and then Spennymoor in 2055. We've already seen this. They beat AC Milan in the final, so that is brilliant to see. This is the Super Cup winners. Unfortunately, Gloucester and Spennymoor didn't manage to win that one. World Cup then. Yeah, Ukraine managed to win the most recent World Cup. We've already seen a surprise winner with Scotland, of course, and Sweden. But then Serbia managed to win it in 2038, beating USA in the final. And we then saw Serbia win it for a second time in 2054, beating USA in another final. Well, that's a weird coincidence. And then Ukraine beat Italy in the final in an Australian World Cup. That's really intriguing. European Football Championship, less surprising winners, apart from Ukraine winning it in that first year, 2020. But since then, it's Spain have done well, Germany, England, Holland have managed to win it twice. We've seen Serbia finish runners-up twice, and Belgium once. But nothing massively surprising there. Golden Ball, I just want to have a look to see if there's any surprise winners. No, not it's dominated by PSG, as you would expect, really, which is not so interesting. I'm just going to skip back. If you happen to see like a Spennymoor player in there, then let me know if you spot someone. I don't think there is. I'd love to see a Spennymoor player in the World Team of the Year, but unfortunately it doesn't look like this case. The PSG, they just dominate, don't they? Look at that. They've pretty much... Look at that PSG dominance. It's just stupid. World rankings, Brazil at the top. Competition rankings, Premier League at the top. This is the turnover thing, but it's only showing England, and I don't really know why. That seems to be a little bit broken. A bit confused by that. So that's the end of this experiment, guys. I think I'll end on this screen just to pay homage to Spennymoor for their brilliance during this save. To not get relegated a single time is an incredible achievement. They, of course, won the Premier League twice. They've won cup competitions. They've won European competitions. They haven't built a really big stadium for some reason. Maybe they would one day. But they've done phenomenally well. It's been really fascinating. I love this sort of thing. I'm happy to do this again, but with a few twists. Some people have suggested some things. Perhaps I could put a transfer embargo on the traditional top 6 Premier League teams for a few years, so they don't get promoted all the way to the top straight away, or possibly release the Premier League players or something like that, or give proper facilities to the likes of Spennymoor from the start, so when the real life Premier League teams get back to the top, they can actually compete properly and prevent Man United from dominating England. And there's different things I can do, and that'll probably be a few weeks or months away before I do something similar to this. But there's lots of other experiments on the channel that are currently out and also going to be being released over the next few weeks, so keep your eyes out on them. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. It'd be great if you can leave a like on this video as usual, just to show your support for this series. That'd be much appreciated. But until next time, enjoy FM18 and I'll see you very soon.